Alright, hello everybody, my name is Dogebuddha, and in this video I'm going to be rewatching my first ever review. So that would be Guitar Hero: A Promising Beginning, I think. Because it's been, when I upload this, it'll have been 5 years ever since I posted this, so this is kind of like the 5th anniversary of Dogebuddha, if you will. I know I had a few other videos before this one, but they weren't really like Dogebuddha videos, I guess you could say. They were very, abstract and were just really silly. So this one is actually when I wanted to, get serious and lock in and actually try to make something that was, creative and worthwhile, something to be proud of, if you know what I mean. I kind of wanted to do this because I wanted to talk a little bit about how I made this channel, how I made this video, kind of just a little bit of history about Dogebuddha, a little behind the scenes, what was going on as I was making these videos. Just stuff like that. I also want to go through this video and just show how much I've changed over the years, because I mean, yeah, I think you can already see just by looking at the video on screen right now how, different it is from the stuff that I make nowadays. But so how this video is going to go is actually I'm just going to show like short clips from the first review. I'm not going to go through the entire thing. I'll show like, I don't know, maybe like a 15-second clip or something, and I'll pause it and I'll come with the commentary and just kind of talk about, whatever. It may be like, oh, in this section I wanted to talk about this because blah blah blah, or oh my god, this is, if I did this today I would have done it so much differently, just stuff like that. I'm not going to show the entire thing, but I do want to show bits and pieces of it, obviously, to talk about, again, the history, a little behind the scenes, all that kind of stuff, because I think it'd just be kind of neat. I think I've had an interesting history with my YouTube channel, Alright, so without further ado, I'm going to play like the first 10 seconds or so. So, yeah, let's do this. Now that's a sound I'll never forget. Guitar Hero, a game that started the rhythm game boom in the late 2000s and spawned many sequels. Released in 2005 on the PlayStation 2, Guitar Hero would be critically acclaimed and sold over 1 million units thanks to its guitar controller. Okay, so we're only like 20 seconds in or so, and there's so much to unpack from this. So, first of all, you'll notice the video quality is only like, this is 480p, I think, 30 frames a second, and it's not even 16:9, it's 4:3, which makes sense because, Guitar Hero 1 didn't have widescreen support, so I couldn't really have done that with the capture card. But yeah, now I make videos in 1440p, widescreen, 16 frames a second. So, and the other thing too is the mic quality. Yeah, I was using the headphone mic that came with the Galaxy S10, because that was like the only thing I could record with. I had a laptop and I guess I could have used that mic that came with it, but that probably would have been a lot worse, because my voice would have been, I would have had to like go into lengths to speak into that thing and make myself like, clear and coherent. With the other mic I could just, kind of hold it up to my mouth and speak into it. So I want to talk a little bit about like how I came to make this video. So I came up with this idea in August of 2019. My current obsession was Guitar Hero. I mean, I've always loved Guitar Hero ever since I was a young kid. I've been playing it since I was like very young, and it's been something that's been with me over the years, ever since I first played it. Because, I just love the games, and, like, it influenced my music taste growing up, and I even, have bands in my playlist and stuff like that, and I discovered them through Guitar Hero. So, yeah, it's always been a big part of me, but, during August 2019, it was really just, it really was an obsession during that time. I actually replayed some of the games earlier that year, so it was really strong in my blood that time. So anyways, another thing that I discovered that year, not discovered, but like got into, was in-depth reviews on games. So I think like the two main inspirations for what I do is Paradigm Gamer and King K. I think these are the two biggest guys that I watched that really inspired me to do this. That I kind of, they were the inspirations that came to me when I, was making videos. When it came to script writing and narration and editing and all that kind of stuff. So I was wondering if there was like an in-depth review on Guitar Hero, because I mean, you know, Guitar Hero's it's a popular franchise, and I was just like, well, you know, there is in-depth reviews on other popular games like Pokemon and Sonic games and, you know, stuff like that. So I was just like, I wonder if there's one for Guitar Hero, because I love Guitar Hero and I love these in-depth reviews. So let's try to find one, and I really couldn't find anything. I think the closest thing I found was there's a video called like a retrospective on Guitar Hero / Rock Band, I think. And it's like a 19, maybe 20-minute video about some person going through like a little bit about the history of Guitar Hero and Rock Band, and like I guess their thoughts on it. I actually didn't watch it. All I know is like there's the thumbnail, like the title. So, but there wasn't like a video, a review that talked about like a single game and like, you know, cut it open and really got into all of its details and what works, what doesn't work, their criticisms, you know, just stuff like that. And that really inspired me. I was just like, so no one's going to give Guitar Hero a thorough review? Well, maybe I'll change that. So I was like, okay, could I do this though? If you know, I do want to do it, but can I do it? So I was like, okay, well, I know I'd have to get footage. I know I had to write a script, record that script, and then edit everything, along with the small other things like titling it, making a thumbnail, you know, all that fun jazz. So I was like, well, I can just write the script on my computer, and I can read off the monitor as I'm speaking into my headphones mic, you know, the ones that came with the Galaxy S10, and then I could use my Galaxy S10 to edit the video. So that phone was very strong when it came out. It had like 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is a lot in 2018, and it had like a really good APU in it. So yeah, I was very confident that it could do what I wanted it to in terms of video editing. And speaking of which, I actually edited a few like video memes before with my software at the time, which was Power Director for the phone. So yeah, I knew a thing or two about editing video, even if it was just my previous experience was just, you know, like less than a minute memes that really weren't hard to make. So yeah, so the hard part came when I had to get the footage, because my laptop was, I didn't have a capture card. My laptop wasn't strong enough to emulate the PS2. It could hardly do anything. That thing had an AMD A6 in it, which I think has like 2 cores and 2 threads, and its frequency speed's only like 2 gigahertz. It had 4 gigs of RAM, and it was running Windows 10 off of HDD. So yeah, that thing, even if I could record somehow, I don't think it would have been able to edit that kind of footage. But luckily, I did. Oh, speaking of which, I did try to emulate the PS2 on Android. At that time, there was like 2 PS2 emulators on Android at that time in 2019. But neither of them were great. They sucked. And even then, even if I did want to do it, they didn't emulate the Guitar Hero guitar. So yeah, if I wanted to get footage, it would have been using a controller, which is not practical for a lot of songs in Guitar Hero, especially the harder songs that, you know, you really need to strum for. So yeah, that wasn't happening. Luckily though, I had a little bit of a backup plan. So my oldest brother was living with me at the time, and he actually had a gaming PC. He had a PC that could easily record PS2 gameplay. So I was like, so I just asked him one day while we were in the Taco Bell drive-thru if he wouldn't mind if I used his computer to get some Guitar Hero footage, and he was like, sure, I don't care. So I had everything now. I had a way to get footage. I had something I can edit with. I had something I could record with. So I was just like, alright, let's get the footage, let's write the script, let's narrate the script, and let's edit it all together. So yeah, now obviously that was a lot easier than said, but I will say writing the script was, you know, it was a bit of a challenge, because like I had to find out how I wanted to structure it, how I wanted to express myself, you know, how I wanted to talk about certain things. So it took a while for me to figure out a style. But I feel like nowadays, like my videos now kind of have like a similar structure to how I started. But there's, you know, other big differences in between that really make them different. I will say, when I was recording this video, and you'll see it as we go through. Actually, you probably already saw it, but you'll notice in this video that there's a lot of cuts. There's a lot of pieces of footage that are like that I let play for like 5 seconds, that I cut to another piece of footage, and I let that play for like 5 seconds. So yeah, it's kind of fast paced. It gives viewers whiplash. So yeah, I don't know why I did that. I guess I figured, I was like, well, viewers are just gonna get bored after like 5 seconds of the same footage. So I was like, if I cut to another one, then they'll be excited again. So yeah, that was a really poor choice, but that's what I did. Another thing you may have noticed so far is I use like certain visuals during my videos. So like you saw the Wikipedia chart I showed that image of the PS2, you know, just stuff like that. And it was because like I kind of wanted to spice up the video a little bit. I didn't want it to be like completely gameplay, so I made stuff like that in order to, you know, get some variety, kind of just spark up the visuals a little bit. Sooner or later I stopped doing it. I think this is like the only video that has that, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I kind of abandoned that real quickly because it looked amateurish, it looked crude, it didn't flow with the gameplay at all. So yeah, I stopped that. If I want to do something like that nowadays, where like I wanted to show an image or something, I would just let the image fade in, and then as the image is fading in, the background footage would like blur and darken a little bit, and then whenever I want the image to go away, I'll just, you know, reverse the blur and reverse the darkness. Well, I guess it depends on what image it is, but you know. But yeah, I would never do that again. Just, you know, have an image like that just in the middle.
Despite this game's popularity, there hasn't been an in-depth look into it. To be fair, Guitar Hero is a fairly simple game, but it has a lot to analyze. So without further ado, let's take an in-depth look into this rather underlooked, not to be confused with underrated, classic PS2 game.
Okay, so I mentioned it right there, that I kind of gave a little bit of my motivation for doing this review, was that there wasn't really any other kind of reviews at that time that were, you know, giving an in-depth look at Guitar Hero. So I was like, I'm going to be the person that does that, because I love this game, and I think it should have something like this. So yeah, good for me. Oh, by the way, you might have noticed that in that transition there, that the visuals like faded up with the audio didn't. I think I learned that in the second video, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I didn't know that like if you just clicked on the audio tab and then clicked like the options, there was a thing that said like fade out and fade in. So, but yeah, that's just the things that you do whenever you make your first video. So yeah.
The presentation of this game is very appealing to new players, considering this game to be the first in the series. The song playing part shows the main gameplay. Not only will they use what they learned in the tutorial, they'll also see new things that give energy and fun to the gameplay. It's quick, it's simple, and the player knows how to play already.
Okay, I'm not exactly sure if I understood the idea of presentation in this section, and that's why I only did it for like the first 2 videos. I think Guitar Hero 2 was the last video that had this presentation segment. But yeah, I think presentation is how a game presents itself, you know. So Guitar Hero is just like, here's this rhythm game that's easy to get into, and it's cool, it's exciting, you know, it's gonna be fun, it's gonna pump you up, it's gonna give you these characters that you might grow attached to, it's gonna give you these venues that really breathe life to the game and stuff like that. And I guess I did kind of touch on that in the presentation, you know, in this section, but I'm not sure if I did this like 100% correct or how I should have done it. Like, I don't know, let me know what you all think, because I'm not exactly sure if this is like the appropriate use of the word. I don't know, just to me, I don't know if I'm using the word presentation right in this section. It just doesn't like click to me.
Red is not a place one wants to be. The red indicates the player will fail if they do not improve their performance. The fretboard will flash red if the player is on the edge of failing. A missed note or two could stop the song.
I think like one of the biggest problems that I have in like my older videos, especially this one, I'm very over-explanatory. Like, I could have easily... And by the way, I think me talking about the rock meter in this part of the video should have been in the visual section, which, by the way, I do bring this back up again whenever I do talk about the visuals, so yeah, very over-explanatory. Yeah, I feel like in my older videos, for whatever reason, like, there's these small aspects in the game. Well, I guess they're kind of like, I guess all things considered, they are big aspects, but even then, like, I really harp on their details and stuff like that in a way that it's like, I'm not like criticizing them, I'm just kind of talking about them. And I feel like that's, it's fair, it's not necessary. Like, I know it's an in-depth review, and like, if I needed to talk about these aspects, like if I needed to dig into, you know, everything that makes up this aspect, then I would have to have something afterwards that like really explains like all this stuff works. I know after I talk about this, I'm like, yeah, it's really cool and stuff to see how the player's performance affects everything around them. I know I mentioned that, but I don't think like my elaboration is long enough to justify the explanation, if that makes any sense. Like, I could have shortened this section so easily if I just said, red, if you're on red, obviously the crowd's gonna boo you, and the crowd's not gonna be lively. If you're on yellow, everything's just kind of, you know, flat and stuff. But if you're on green, people get pumped up, characters get pumped up, you know, the whole, it's adrenaline pumping, right? There you go. I just summed it in like 15 seconds there. But, and then I could have gone on for minutes talking about how you know, and then afterwards I could have gone on for like a few minutes about why that's, you know, a good thing, why that also pumps the player, why that, you know, really works with the gameplay of the game, instead of just going on and on about how, you know, what's the difference between red, green, and yellow. Like, I think maybe I'm being a little over-explanatory right now, but yeah, I feel like this could have been reduced a lot, and still gotten the point across.
Players can play the same song to understand the song's pattern better, use star power, or get 5 stars on an easier song to improve their scores. Players are not rewarded with money if they play on easy. This reward system makes sense. If the player wants more, they will have to do more. It's kind of like capitalism.
Okay, alright, so a few things. Number one, I feel like my narration throughout this thing is kind of awkward, and I know why. Number one, obviously, this is my first video, so I didn't have the confidence yet. I was still getting into it, so obviously that's one reason. The other reason too was so I was recording this in my room by my desk. I think this is the only video that I did that with my Samsung Galaxy mic, as I'm gonna call it. I guess it's like an AKG mic, all things considered. But yeah, so I was nervous a little bit. And the other thing too was I was recording with like my door slightly ajar, and there was other people home, and I kind of didn't want them to know I was doing this. I didn't know what their reaction would have been. I'm sure they would have thought, like, if I told my parents at that time I was doing it, I think they would have been very supportive. When I did tell them that I was doing it, they were very supportive. They thought it was awesome. I think they learned in like May of 2023, so I kept this secret for a little bit. That's when they watched my Stray video, and as they were watching it, they just kept saying, "Ah, that's so neat, Jacob." So yeah. Alright, the second thing I want to mention is that joke. Yeah, so I think it's like only the first 2 videos that I had some humor in them. When I first started reviewing games, I kind of wanted to put little jokes here and there. But as I was doing more and more reviews, I was just like, I couldn't really find ways to put a lot of humor in them, so I just kind of stopped thinking about what I could joke about. That's not to say like jokes aren't in my reviews at all anymore. It's just they're, I think this is like my early reviews, they're more prevalent. There's like more of them than there are in the later ones. So like this video is easily the most, like this video right here has the most jokes out of it in any like Dogebuddha video in my opinion. So yeah, that's what I was kind of going for, was like, you know, mostly being critical of the game and really analyzing all of its features and stuff like that, but also having, you know, jokes here and there in order to break up some of the monotony of the, you know, explanations and stuff like that.
The reward system work hand in hand in this game. letting players easily improve their skills while promising them a reward for doing so. The player can't get the full benefit of buying everything in the store if they decide to stay on easy. In all difficulties, excluding easy, a player has to have 5 stars on most songs, but can have a few 4 stars and 3 stars on a few songs if they want to buy everything in the store.
So, this is just a short clip, but I kind of want to talk about, like, I feel like my older, I said this before, but like my older reviews are very over-explanatory, and I feel like sometimes, like, I don't say enough in order to, justify saying so, or, explaining all the features in, like, detail, but not, like, elaborating on why they're good or why they're bad, what could have been changed, or, just stuff like that. I feel like as I was writing, like, my newer reviews, especially as of recently, I kind of noticed that, like, a lot of my reviews, my older reviews, aren't, like, they are reviews, because I do give my opinion and stuff like that, but I do remember seeing, like, people complaining on the internet about, like, how things are called reviews, or, like, titled as reviews, but they're not really reviews, they're just people going over the aspects of the gameplay, and just, like, a little bit of history of the game, but not actually telling you why the features are good, and stuff like that. And I feel like some of my older videos are like that. As I was rewatching this, yeah, I definitely got a sense of that, but then there's times like these where I'm talking about the money system in Guitar Hero, and I was like, wow, I think I actually did elaborate, some in these old videos, even if I am over-explanatory and do give, way more detail than necessary. I guess there are pieces here where I do, effectively elaborate and tell you why features are good and why they work the game, or why they're not good and don't work the game. So, yeah, that was one of the bigger eye-openers I had while rewatching this.
To obtain the Guitar God status, the player has to get 5 stars on medium, hard, and expert on all songs, including bonus songs. This isn't really an incentive, as all it does is update the player's rocker status. That's it. Nothing really special.
Okay, so from what I know, this isn't actually true. I think all you have to do is 5-star every song on one difficulty, and then for that career, you have Guitar God status. So, like, on expert, all you have to do is just 5-star all the songs on expert, and then when you go back to, like, the character select thing, it'll say Guitar God. But if you go to, like, hard difficulty and you haven't 5-starred all of them, it'll just say, whatever your status is at that time. It won't say Guitar God. That, by the way, I said it would take, like, 3 to 5 hours. I don't know if I was referring to, like, I think I was referring to how long it takes to do the set list, like, just all the 30 songs in the set list. But also the 3 to 5 hours thing, I don't know how true that is. Actually, I'll do the math as I'm editing this video, and I'll show you how long it actually would take to become Guitar God if you just went through the entire game and 5-starred every single song. Obviously, if you're a newbie, or need to take time to practice a few things, obviously it's going to take longer than that. But at the very least, I'll show, like, the least amount of time you have to put in this game to get Guitar God. So yeah, as I'm editing this, I'll research into that, but I don't think that part there is true.
That's the career mode. Quick Play allows the player to jump into a song without having to select a character, a venue, or a guitar. Quick Play songs don't give any money, but you can enter your high scores on a bathroom wall.
Okay, so a small thing about this, I think there's a loading screen tip in, I don't know if it is Guitar Hero or if it's Rock Band, but there's a loading screen tip in one of them, and I guess it's Rock Band, because I don't think I ever saw it in Guitar Hero, but it says something like, before the internet, people would talk about their favorite bands in, like, bathrooms. I don't know, it's not the direct quote, I'll see if I can find it anywhere. But it says something like that, and I think that's where that joke comes from. So, yeah, obviously I was born after the internet, so I wouldn't have known things about that.
The main audio switches to whichever player has the higher score, meaning whenever the player with the main audio hits or misses a note, the audio will respond accordingly.
By the way, the whole thing I said about not being able to find a second player, Yeah, that wasn't true. I could have totally asked my brother to help me record that, but I was a little too nervous to ask him because I was already asking him if I could use his computer to record. If I just asked him for 5 minutes of his, if I just asked him for 5 minutes of his time to do that for me, he would have.
For what it's worth though, it is still fun to play this game with a friend. Seeing who's better at the game sounds like a nice night with the boys. I've done that before, but everybody knew I was the best, so no competition.
One thing I want to mention just there, it's not the night with the boys comment. It's, you notice how, like, so that piece of footage right there, I reused, like, 30 seconds earlier in the video. So yeah, that's one thing you might notice about a few of the earlier videos, is that, like, they have, like, reused footage. And the reason for that is, at a certain point, I was like, okay, like, once, there was a certain point where I was like, alright, I got all my footage, I'm gonna tell my brother that, you know, I don't need to get any more, so he can just, you know, he can do whatever he wants with his computer, or he doesn't have to worry about me, he doesn't have to worry about setting it up, is what I should say. But if I actually needed more footage than what I had, yeah, I was SOL. I couldn't have done anything about it, I just kinda had to awkwardly reuse some of the other footage that I already used. So yeah, nowadays I don't have to do that. I record everything on my own, so I don't have to use someone else's computer. I'll just grab more footage if I need to. It's that simple. Even if I'm editing and I notice that I don't have the footage right away, I'll just put like a placeholder image in the you know, the space that will have the future gameplay. So yeah.
Data settings to delete a save file, rename a band, save a file, load a file, and toggle autosave.
Okay, just for the record, I know this is small, but you'll notice the text here that says, I don't know why the data settings are not available. I know why now. It's because earlier in that video, so what I was doing with that footage was before I went to the settings, I got the footage for all the cheats in the game. And whenever you put on cheats, it turns that off. It turns off saving. So that's why it was grayed out. I know it's not really that big a deal. Again, going back to the over-explanatory part, like, why do I need to talk about the settings for? Like, that's so unnecessary. What am I talking? Why? You know what I mean? That's just something I harp on whenever I go back and watch my older videos and I talk about the settings, and it's like, it's just the settings. Like, why do I need to talk about this?
This game was created in 2005 and looks as such. It was created in the middle of the PS2's lifespan, before next-gen consoles were released. To be fair, this game looks good for the time it came out, and the budget the game had of $1 million.
Okay, so let me talk about one thing here. I said how the game came out in 2005, and it looked good for its day. Honestly, after upscaling it and turning off depth of field, I still think these visuals look good to this day. They're not very good, but I don't know, man. This art style, I still think holds up. Like, I don't know, there's nothing in here that really looks like, you know, overly compressed or, you know, unclear. Like, I think the audience does, but otherwise, like, I don't know. I think all the character models have charm. You know, the environments certainly do. I think the only thing that doesn't look that great is the audience and the fretboards. Otherwise, I still love this art style. I mean, I know, like, when I was making this video, I was just talking about how, like, you know, the visuals don't look as good as, you know, visuals nowadays, but honestly, I think the art style looks just fine, even to today's standards, especially if you upscale it, which is easy to do, because, you know, I don't think it's that hard to, you don't have to have the greatest computer to run, you know, PCSX2 at, like, 4K, so, yeah, honestly, I still think it looks good to this day. So I don't know what I was talking about.
The menus are supposed to give a feeling that the player is outside a huge concert venue, and the posters are supposed to be signs from the musicians playing in the venue or advertisements that sponsor the venue.
Alright, so there's one thing I want to mention here. So you notice that I was using a lot of just screenshots of the posters here. That's just because, like, I didn't have, like, too much footage of me going through the menus, so I just kind of had to screen cap them and, you know, put them in the editor as just a still image. And, not only is that awkward just visual-wise, but it's also kind of awkward audio-wise, because I don't have music in the background. Like, you know, whenever you do like a commentary video, you usually have some kind of music in the background, even if it's not from the game. You know, kind of it sets a tone, it sets a mood, you know. So these are kind of awkward without that. Like, obviously there's music in the background whenever I'm actually playing the game. But yeah, here it's so awkward because it doesn't have that. And like that's another reason why I stopped doing this stuff, because it was there's no audio except for me talking, and that didn't work so well. It's such a, you know, weird thing to go from, you know, music that's from the game to just my voice.
The Grim Reaper, or Grim Ripper, rather. Who knew the Grim Reaper could shred a guitar? For all we knew, this guy just took souls. No surprise, he's really into death metal.
Oh boy. Okay, I don't want to talk about the joke there. I actually want to talk about Izzy Sparks for a second. Apparently there's someone in the credits called Izzy Sparks, so I guess that's where they got the name from. I don't know where they got like the character idea from, but yeah, apparently I guess they got the name from one of their employees. I guess there's their nickname or something. But I mean, yeah, it totally works with like a fictional rock star, so kudos to them.
And an enjoyable reward. The characters aren't the only thing that make the gameplay lively and energetic. The venue plays a part as well.
Alright, so you might have noticed that little lag spike, I guess. And the reason for that is because my editing software didn't play well with when I was editing this video. So let me explain. So when I was editing this video, and you've already seen it, the clips, again, they last like less than 10 seconds, then it's on to the next gameplay thing. So because of that, there was a lot of like standalone clips in my in the project overview, in the timeline. And as good as the Samsung Galaxy S10 is, I don't know if it was the editing software or my phone that couldn't handle it. Maybe a little bit of both. But yeah, because I had so many different clips in there, my editor would regularly crash. And after a few times of crashing, like, for whatever reason, video would just not play on my phone. So I had to like reset it in order for it to start playing videos again. That was another reason why I decided to let the gameplay actually play out in later reviews. It's because not only is it just way better for the flow of the review, but so it was also because, you know, my editor would have kept crashing if I did that. So yeah. But speaking of which, that little lag spike right there doesn't happen because of that. So I'll explain. When I the project file that I had for the Guitar Hero 1 review, every single clip and every single piece of my commentary was all in one project file. So, you know, everything was there. When I went to go render it, I noticed that there was a lot of like lag in the video, in the review, in the final product. So like what would happen is just like one frame would like freeze for a few seconds, and then it would go on to like the next set of gameplay. So like what I would notice is that like pieces of the gameplay would like freeze for a few seconds, and then it would show like the next piece of gameplay. Like it wouldn't show what's it called? It would just freeze for a few seconds. So anything that happened for the next 3 seconds weren't shown. It was essentially like that stuff was cut out, and it was very annoying. And it obviously just didn't look good. And it did like good amount of times. Like it was spread throughout the video, and I was like, when that happened, I was like, what am I gonna do about this? This is really bad. But I had an idea. So what I did was I made a duplicate project file, and in the original project file, I decided to delete the second half of the video. So only the first half was there. And in the duplicate project, what I did was I deleted the first half, so the second half was there. And then I rendered them individually, made a new project file, put both of those together, and then I rendered that. And luckily, the only the only place where the video lags, or freezes I should say, is right here. I just showed you that right there. So yeah, I fixed it. There was only one, freeze frame, and it's only for like 3 seconds, and it's not throughout the video. So I was very proud for figuring that one out, and stomping out some of the stopping out every single freeze frame that was going to be in the final product just by doing this. Obviously I didn't stop out every single one. There's just only one. But yeah, that was stuff that you do in order to make these videos, man. It was crazy the amount of stuff I did in order to make them look good. Try to up the production quality just a little bit.
Mother's basement. Hey, every rockstar has to begin somewhere. This venue takes place in a small basement that only has a few speakers and rugs to absorb the sound. Don't want the neighbors to get upset. Well, either way, the player gets paid. The Freak Pit.
Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna talk about the over-explanatory aspect of these earlier videos, kind of ironic, but yeah, this was something that I did in the earlier videos where I talked about every single character and every single level. And all I did was just give a brief description. And yeah, that kind of, that really, I thought, kind of damaged the quality of some of these older videos. Like, it drags it on. And I didn't mean to do that. Again, I'm still trying to figure out how to make a good review. And I thought, well, if you just be as descriptive as possible, well, there you go. That's just how you do it. And it's like, no. Like, if you want to be descriptive about an aspect, sure. Like, just, describing what it is, sure. What you have to do afterwards is also be very descriptive with your elaboration. Again, and there's not enough elaboration to really justify why there's so much explanation or so much setup. I did this for a while, man. I did this until, like, I think Twisted Metal 2012. But even then, I kind of stopped. I don't know. I do know in the Rock Band video, in the first Rock Band video, I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna give you some of my favorite levels, and that's it. And there was only, like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 maps that I talked about. I feel like it also played into the video and wasn't, like, over-explanatory, because, like I said, these are my favorite maps. These really show why Rock Band, or, why these are my favorite Rock Band levels. This is where Rock Band really shines in its visuals and its, level design, instead of just going through every single one and not telling you, why it's good. Like, if I redid this, obviously I would just talk about maybe some of my favorite aspects from each map. Like, I would talk about the final venue, and I'd be like, well, the garden's such a cool map because there's this, like, battle happening behind you, right? But there's so much of the audience, and it really works with how it gets you pumped up. There's so much energy in this map, and even the floor is cracked, so it's just like, it's hectic, and that's really awesome. And it also works with, the really fast songs of the final venue, or the final set list. That's what I would have done instead, but obviously hindsight's 2020. But just to give you a little bit of an explanation as to, as to how I changed over the years.
Hey, wait a minute. This isn't Derek Weebly or Dave Baksh. Who are these posers?
Yeah, alright, so there's another joke that made its way into the Guitar Hero video and is reminiscent of my earlier style. It's crazy the amount of time I let this joke run out, like the setup and everything. I don't think I would have done this nowadays. Actually, I did do something like this in my Power Wash DLC video. I don't know, to me it's just, like, crazy to see some of these big differences between, like, this video and what I do nowadays. Because, again, I don't really put a lot of jokes in my recent videos. Like, if I think there's something, like, really good, then I put it in. But otherwise, yeah, I kind of snuffed it out. And, like, I don't think there was a joke like this for a while that had, like, this amount of setup. Again, the only one I could think of is the Power Wash Simulator, the Power Wash Simulator DLC. Well, to be fair, like, I think when I talked about this, I think the way I set this up is, like, part of it's a joke, but it's also, like, part of the actual game. Like, I'm making a joke, but I'm also trying to tell you about the sound department of this game. At least when I was doing the joke in the Power Wash DLC level, it was pretty clear I was making a joke.
The average cost to buy a license for a song's master recording is around $25,000. The average cost to buy the license to cover a song is around $10,000.
Hey, by the way, I don't know if this is 100% correct. I don't know if these numbers are correct. So, I just kind of took this from an article that Did You Know Gaming used, but I know there's a hyperlink there in that photo that you saw. I guess that shows you like the differences between licensing a song and just licensing it for it to get covered. So as I'm editing this video, I'm actually gonna look that up. I'm actually gonna see if there's an actual like good estimate on covering a song versus getting it licensed. Let us know, post Dogebuddha, if there's truth to that statement.
Harmonix had no idea if Guitar Hero would blow up and be a huge success or fail completely. So to save money in the case of the unfortunate, they chose to use covers instead.
Okay, another thing too. So, Harmonix, I said in this video that Harmonix used covers because, well, there's two reasons. One, so like the first reason was just in case Guitar Hero flopped, they didn't waste as much money as they would have if they licensed the songs. And the other reason is it's kind of like the vibe, like you're just a cover band. So, obviously you're not going to sound exactly like the original artist. But, it's funny that I mentioned that, because Harmonix had a game, I guess they had a few games technically, before this, that had covers of songs. And that was the Karaoke Revolution games. So Wave Group helped Harmonix make covers for Karaoke Revolution. This wasn't the first time they worked with them. To me, it's just kind of interesting that I thought like, oh, well, Harmonix was just playing it safe, because it's like their first time doing it. And it's like, no, this was not their first time doing it. What's even funnier is like, Harmonix in 2001, I think, maybe it was 2002. Maybe it was 2003. I'm not 100% sure. They made a game called Frequency, I think. Maybe it's Amplitude. No, I think it's Frequency, and that had like actual master recordings. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to me that like Harmonix actually first used master recordings, then went to covers, and then stuck with covers until Rock Band 1. But even then, Rock Band 1 had a few covers, but then Rock Band 2 was like the first one that didn't have any covers at all. They were all master recordings. So I don't know, I just thought I'd bring that up. I thought that was kind of interesting to learn.
Covers are either pretty close to the original, or better than the original, or just aren't as good as the original.
So want to bring up something here. Ever since like I think it was March of 2019, I've always had like the Wave Group covers on my phone, or like as part of my playlist. I love these damn things. I grew up playing Guitar Hero at a young age, so like these versions of the songs, the cover versions by Wave Group, really grew on me. Like they were the first versions of the songs that I've ever listened to. So I really started to like them a lot more than the actual master recordings. So to this day, I still love them. I love them so much. I listen to them all the time. And like, I just want to know if there's anybody out there watching this video that play Guitar Hero a lot, if you still listen to the covers to this day instead of just the master recordings, because I know I still do. I love them to death. I know they're, like, some of them aren't as good as the master recordings, but I can't help but just listen to them anyway. Like, there's something magical about them. Or maybe I'm just blind to my nostalgia. I don't know.
Also, praise Tyson Yen and Marcus Henderson. I love these guys.
Boy, that last part's a little cringe. I don't know why I included that. Like, don't get me wrong, I guess I really loved Drist at that time. Nowadays, I watch this and I go, why did I do that? You know, it's funny, I actually did talk a little bit to Tyson Yen on Reddit during that time. I messaged him just a few questions about Guitar Hero and Work Its Name Edition, but I don't know why I said I loved them. To me, that's very odd. It's actually kind of cringe to me.
The songs are Triplet by Andrew Bush and Graveyard Shift by an unknown artist, though Harmonix reported one of their employees named Aaron made it. It's not 100% confirmed though.
Oh boy. So, as you saw by the text, that footage wasn't mine. It was from Guitar Hero Rocks. I didn't even ask if I could put it in the game, but regardless, you also notice how like awkward it is that those clips are in the game because they're like widescreen, while as the rest of the footage in the video was 4:3. So obviously nowadays I do have, well, I don't have a cheat device, but I can just well, I have a special version of Guitar Hero 1 that just has those unlocked by default. So, which is funny because when I did do the latest video on Guitar Hero, I played both these songs. I have footage of both these songs, and they were my own footage. Yeah, that just shows you how like crude everything was when I was first making videos.
Both songs were put in the game without permission by Harmonix.
Oh, by the way, that statement I just made there, that both songs were put on the disc without permission from Harmonix, I don't know if that's 100% true. If I remember correctly, they were on the disc, and essentially, what happened was they were put on the disc, right? But they weren't supposed to be accessible. Someone made like a change or whatever to like the files of the game, and put those two on, because I think they were being considered for it. But then Harmonix was like, nah, we're not gonna have them in the game. So instead of just getting rid of them, they just made them inaccessible. Apparently that was easier to do. Technically speaking, Triple was put on the disc without permission. At least, well, there's two versions, right? We know in a prototype of Guitar Hero 1, there's a different version of Triple that's different from the final version. I think that version was put on without their permission.
Solos are hard to hit because one's fingers are restricted to holding the previous note before hitting the next note. It disrupts the flow of hitting fast approaching notes, by confining fingers rather than letting them fly across the fretboard. Also, the speed of the fretboard feels slow to some players. It'd be nice to adjust its speed somehow. Even though the fretboard of an expert is the fastest it goes, it still feels slow sometimes. This is a...
Okay, so I spliced two clips there together, but the general gist of like my issues with the game was that the Hoppo system isn't great, and the other thing too, the fretboard speed is kind of slow. First of all, Guitar Hero 1 Deluxe, a fan-made mod for this game, fixes both those issues. So the fretboard speed can be adjusted, manually adjusted to practically whatever the player would like. And the second part is they fixed the hoppos, so you could just tap them now instead of having to, hold the previous button and then the next button. I played around a little bit with it. It's not perfect though. Like, it only works about 50% of the time. So, but I mean, I guess I understand why. They're kind of just modifying code that's, maybe not easy to understand, or like code that's really ingrained within, the game itself. Another thing I want to bring up, I think I mentioned how, like, I had a problem with the fact there's no post-game content in here, and I'm like, I don't even know why I brought that up. I don't even know why I brought that up as an issue. It's like, why does it matter? I mean, the game's got replayability, so, like, why does it need post-game content? It's doubtful you're gonna go through this game and, like, 5-star every song on Expert on your first try, even if you are that good at the game. So you're probably gonna go back and, replay all the main setlist songs, So I don't even know why I brought that up as an issue. Alright, one more thing. This is actually going to the gameplay section, but I wish I kind of talked about, like, the hitbox of this game. And just, like, how the engine feels. Guitar Hero, the first two Guitar Hero games, I guess 80s included, in Rock Band, they have, like, not very tight, but it's a tight, sort of restrictive hitbox. So, like, the little round notes at the bottom of the fretboard, yeah, from like the bottom pixel all the way to the top pixel of those notes is like the hitbox. Guitar Heroes is like a lot, I don't know if it's a lot bigger, but it's certainly significantly bigger enough where well, sorry, when Neversoft got to Guitar Hero, they made the hitbox a lot bigger, and it was significantly different to the point where, like, Neversoft could, like, overchart their stuff, and you could still hit, like, every note. So, the other thing, too, is that this game has a strum limit. So there's only so many times that you can strum in a second before, like, the game doesn't recognize any more strums. I think it's, like, 16 notes per second? I'm probably wrong about that. I'll let you guys know. I think it's, like, 16 notes per second. I'll show something on the screen just in case I'm wrong, because I think I might be. So yeah, I don't think there's any songs that are affected by this in the first game, but I do know that Guitar Hero 2, 80s, and I think it's the first Rock Band that you can't, like, there's songs that you can't FC because of that. At least not on, like, US copies. From what I know, the European copies of this game run at a different frame rate, so you can do it. By the way, that's another thing that the Guitar Hero Deluxe mod removes. There's no strum limit, so. But yeah, that's kind of, like, it makes sense in the first game, because I don't think there's any songs that are restricted by that. But I do know that the second game, you can't FC Trogdor because of it. But I mean, you can still 5-star it. But still, yeah, I don't know why they put that limitation in the game.
So, in total, that's 47 total songs, plus the 2 hidden songs. 4 difficulties to help the player become a real Guitar Hero.
Alright, I'm just gonna cut this short real quick. A few things here. First of all, you'll notice that there's an image here, a still image here, but there's music playing in the background. So as I mentioned before, like, majority of this video, when there's just a still image, there's just my voice commentary. But here, you can actually hear Guitar Hero playing in the background. So, I mean, this is the end of the video, so I guess I figured that out, like, later on. I actually know how I did this. So, what I did was I put this image here above the gameplay. So I stretched this image out so that you couldn't see the gameplay behind it. So it like completely covers up the footage. So yeah. By the way, this text looks completely wrong, and that's because the colors are inverted. So like Guitar Hero, the Nightmare Hero font, the main color should be white, and then the backdrop should be black. So that's why it looks weird here. One more thing. I don't really do this anymore with my videos, where like when I go to the conclusion, I like add everything up and like give a tally of everything the game has to offer. I'm a lot shorter with it, and you know, just kind of bring up my main points about what works, what doesn't work, you know, just stuff like that. Or if I talk like about 2 different games or 3 different games, I'm like, oh well, this one's my favorite, but I do like the other aspects of the other games, you know, stuff like that. I cut this out because I just thought it was like really repetitive. So
if the player completes the campaign on only 1 difficulty, it's around 3 hours, 3.5 hours with bonus songs. If the player completes the campaign from easy to expert, it's around 12 hours, 14 hours with bonus songs.
Wow, I completely forgot that's in this video. I forgot that I had a little section at the end where I tell you the playtime of the game. Wow, I totally forgot that was in there. I don't think I did that with any games after this. And the Guitar Hero 2 may have had it, but wow, that is something I completely got out in later video reviews. Like, I don't know. To me, that's like very unnecessary. Again, like that over-explanatory stuff I talked about earlier in the video. Wow. That's never coming back.
This game has a lot of content and a good amount of playtime, but only if the player chooses to grow their skills. Guitar Hero has big potential to be an amazing game, but it just needs a bit more content to make it worthwhile. Last but not least, with all that being said, rock on!
Ah, that ending. It's very special, isn't it? I don't really do anything like that anymore. Usually what I do is just I let the video fade out, and then I let the thumbnail without text faded, and then it's just, you know, thanks for watching, and then I list all the songs that I used. But yeah, I try to do that with some of the earlier videos, like give them a special ending. I know Guitar Hero 2 had that little funny joke at the end. Yeah, I don't know if there's ever gonna be a point where I'm like, yeah, I gotta have a special ending for this video. Like I like to, I don't know, I like to be like very chill and laid back now, and I feel like my earlier videos were like laid back, but there was also like some kind of energy to them. Okay, so that's my Guitar Hero 1 review. Just for the record, this commentary that I'm doing right now is being recorded the day after I did that initial commentary on me going through my Guitar Hero 1 video. So if I sound a little different, that's probably why. Regardless though, man, that was that was something else. Whenever I go back and watch some of these older videos, I always just get a certain feeling, besides cringe, of course, but I don't know, there's just something about going back and watching these that like makes me kind of happy, I guess. It's a certain giddy feeling, I guess you could say. I guess it's just because it's cool to go back and see like how much I've changed, you know, how much I started. And when I also watch these older videos, I also remember, like, you know, where I was in life. And, you know, how much has changed ever since. And speaking of which, so obviously after this video, I was like, alright, if I'm going to make another video, it's got to be better than the first one. So there was a lot to consider when it came to that. I think the number one thing that I considered was I wanted a different video editor. Because again, as I was making the first Guitar Hero video, yeah, my software kept crashing. And because of that, I was like, okay, I need to find another software that won't crash and maybe even has more than Power Director. Ultimately though, I couldn't find anything else that was as good as Power Director. So I was just like, well, I guess I'm just gonna keep working with this. But I wasn't gonna make the same mistake twice. So I decided to do something differently in terms of putting everything together while editing the Guitar Hero 2 video. So what I did instead of just putting all the clips together in one project, I actually split it up into like 5 different projects if I'm not mistaken, and each was just like around 5 minutes long. And once I was done with all of that, I would just render them individually and put them all together in one project file, and then render that obviously. So here's the thing, even after I did that, even after I had 5 different final renders, and then I put all of them into one project file, after I rendered that, there was still lag spikes throughout my video. Again, I don't think lag spikes is the right term, I guess it's more like freeze frames. But yeah, that really bothered me. So I asked my older brother if he wouldn't mind if I just put all these 5 videos together in his video editor, and then just, you know, waited for that to render, and then just copy back to my phone and then upload it to YouTube, and he was fine with it. Because again, that stuff just runs in the background, so he didn't really care. I guess the other big thing I did while editing was I actually let the gameplay play out. So again, I mentioned this a couple times, but during the first Guitar Hero video, there was like clips that lasted for like 5 seconds. And yeah, that was like throughout the entire thing. I would let something play for like 5 seconds, and then there was another clip that lasted for like 5 seconds. So in this one, I was like, well, if I let it play for like 30 seconds, or, you know, just as long as it needs to play out for, then it probably a lot smoother. And yeah, turns out my theory was correct. I'm very glad I did that, because I don't know how much I could have gone on with the editing style I did for the first Guitar Hero video. That would have been really bad. The other thing I did too was the recording, the commentary recording. So the first video I did with the AKG microphone, you know, that was attached to my phone's headphones, and I was just kind of awkwardly reading off my computer monitor, my laptop screen, I guess you could say, trying my best to sound confident, but I did mumble here and there, and, you know, not everything was clear. But when I recorded the script for this video, no one was home. I was left alone for like long periods of time at that time, so I was just like, I'm gonna go into the living room and just loudly commentate my script. Not loudly, but like, you know, at a good volume. So that's why the audio quality sounds better in the second video, but it's actually still the same mic. It's just I think I'm more confident, and I actually try to pronounce my words better. I don't have to mumble. No one else was hearing me, so I had a lot more oomph in my voice, because, you know, I didn't want the rest of my family to know what I was doing at that time, so yeah. So after the Guitar Hero 2 video, things started to change for my channel. I did the full discography reviews, and then I did the Twisted Metal videos, and then after that I did some Ninja Turtle stuff. I did, what else did I do? I did some Sonic stuff, and, you know, just a bunch of different things. And as I made more and more videos, I naturally got better at, you know, editing and literally everything else when it comes to making these videos, so yeah. I wanted to talk about the equipment that I had over the years. So as I mentioned before, I started out with a Galaxy S10, an AKG, you know, headphones microphone, and then I had my A6 laptop. So I was doing practically everything on my phone. The only thing that I wasn't doing was writing the script. But everything else, yeah, everything else was being done on my Galaxy S10, which, by the way, I still have to this day. It's actually running just fine, but the battery is really bad on it. It, like, dies in, like, 6 hours or so. I mean, it's got the fast charging, but still, yeah, it's not doing too well right now. You know, the battery's not doing too well. Otherwise, everything's working just fine. Hey, speaking of that phone, I can actually emulate Guitar Hero 1 on there just perfectly. So, if I started my YouTube channel, like, today, I could have gotten everything done with my phone, which is, like, crazy to me. And then the other thing I was using was my brother's computer, but that was only for, you know, getting footage. I couldn't do anything else, couldn't edit, couldn't record my audio, nothing. Just getting footage, so, yeah. And not for nothing, obviously getting footage is important, but I'm just saying, like, if I had complete control over the computer, I could have done a lot more with my videos back then. But so yeah, for a while I was pretty much doing everything on my phone and my brother's computer. But then my brother, the same one that let me record on his computer, gave me a laptop that had an i7 on it, but it wasn't like a good i7. It only had like 2 cores and 4 threads and was like 2.2 gigahertz frequency speed, which I guess is not that bad. You know, I guess if I'm gonna make like videos like at 720p 30 frames, but yeah, it still wasn't that great to edit on. But yeah, because of that, I actually started recording stuff on my own. So the Twisted Metal 3 video was the first review that I got all the footage on my own. I got the EPSXE emulator, I think that's what it's called. Got a ROM with Twisted Metal 3 and just recorded everything. I think I recorded with that Windows record button, like the one that is built into Windows 10. You can just press like the Windows key and R and it'll start recording. So I think that's how I got all the Twisted Metal 3 footage. But yeah, past that, I got a capture card, and I still actually have that capture card to this day. The last time I used it though was to get like Rock Band 4 footage, if I'm not mistaken. So it hasn't been used in a while. But I think one of my future videos will use it. Actually, yeah, one of my future videos will use it. It's good to have around. I mean, it's 1080p 60 frames, so. But then in September 2021, I actually built my first gaming PC. So it had a Ryzen 7 3700X, RTX 2060, and 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, 3200 megahertz, if I'm not mistaken. The first video I made with that was the Twisted Metal 4 video. Oh, by the way, before I go any further, yeah, that laptop that I got from my brother, the one that had the i7, I actually used that video to edit the TMNT 2003 video. And it was okay at doing it. I think the video files I had for that were like 480p 23 frames. So, but it wasn't like the greatest at handling all those clips. It wouldn't crash, but it was kind of slow when I was editing everything together. I was using OpenShot, by the way. That was the editing tool that I used from the TMNT 2003 review all the way to the Twisted Metal Black review. That was the last one that I used OpenShot for. Everything after that I've been using Kdenlive, and Kdenlive is so much better, let me tell you. It's got its own quirks, but I mean, it's so much better. There's so much more you can do, and it's just better. Like, everything about it is so much better. Also, in January 2022 is when I got this mic. By the way, this mic isn't really anything that great. It's just a blue snowball, I think, or maybe no, it's just a standard snowball, and all I do is just like get close to the mic and then put it on the second setting, which is like the setting that only picks up so much volume in the room. It's supposed to like filter out everything else. So yeah, that's how I just record sound for this. So for a while, you might have noticed on the channel from like 2020 I think to 2023, I was doing in-depth reviews of video games, movies, TV shows. So, and I still do that to this day, but I don't call them in-depth reviews anymore. I usually put some kind of clever, I guess, subtitle to whatever I'm reviewing. But yeah, for a while, whenever I reviewed something, it was usually always an in-depth review after I put the title of, you know, whatever it is I'm reviewing. I think the last video that had that was the Dead Space 2 review, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, there's sort of a reason why I did that. So in very early 2024, I had like a revelation about what I should do for my channel. So I was just thinking about my channel one day, and I was just thinking about how much I enjoyed doing the Zombies Easter egg song analysis, and then the Spider-Verse video. And I was just like, it was just so cool to talk about like multiple pieces of media in one video. And by the way, actually, I did that in the Dead Space Before Dead Space video, and I remember really liking doing those. Like, it was so cool to like not just focus on one thing. It was cool to just to like put these things together and kind of compare and contrast them, you know? And I was just wondering like, what if I did that with my normal reviews? And like another part of the reason why I thought that was I was going to make 2 different videos on the Plague Tale games. I was going to have an in-depth review for A Plague Tale Innocence and A Plague Tale Requiem. And I was just thinking about how I was going to say the exact same thing for the sound department of both games. So I was just like, well, if I review A Plague Tale and if I review both A Plague Tale games together, then not only can I compare and contrast them, which I think adds like a, cool factor to the video, I can also cut out some repetition. That way I don't have to say, yeah, I really like the sound department of Innocence and blah 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 blah, and then I say practically the exact same thing for Requiem's sound department. So yeah, that's why the video game reviews in 2024 have been like on multiple video games. So you probably noticed it with the Tony Hawk games. So I reviewed Pro Skater 3 and 4 together, then I did all the Underground games, and then just recently I did Project 8 Proving Ground in one video. And it's so much better to do it this way. I'm having so much more fun, and I think more of my creativity comes out that way too. And then because of this, I don't know why, but I got really creative, I think, and I came up with ideas like, the Bloons Tower Defense video, or even before that, I had the video about scientific terms that were based on video games, and I even had the Go Team video where I interviewed somebody. So I think it's just kind of funny that I made this change, and not only was I able to be more creative and just my general game reviews, but also in like other departments, I had more videos that are, not necessarily defined to just one piece of media. Okay, so 2 more things about the channel, and then I'm gonna move on to like a little bit behind the scenes of how I make a video. So the first thing I want to mention, and this is kind of small, a little insignificant, the reason why I don't do full discography reviews anymore is just because like I don't really have any bands to review. Secondly, even if I did, I always had a little bit of trouble trying to find what to say about some of these musicians and their albums and those videos. I mean, I was really just making those videos because I always make videos because I want to make them, but I also feel like some of those videos I was kind of forcing myself to make. I mean, I still had fun, but I feel like I was just like, oh, well, I gotta upload this month, and this is the only idea I had, so I'm gonna do it. And thirdly, I'm not, like, musically educated. I don't know that much about music for me to really, like, review it properly, I think. Okay, second thing I want to mention is just a little bit about the future of the channel. So, pretty much, a lot of the stuff you saw in 2024, I'm gonna bring onto the future. So, what I mean by that is, obviously, from now on, if I am going to review a video game, I'm probably going to review another video game in that same video. Now, it might be like the Tony Hawk reviews, where it's just like, 2 or 3 entries that are like, back to back. Or like, the later games are sequels, stuff like that. I'm still going to do that. And I still have more Tony Hawk games I want to talk about too. Like, I want to talk about the remakes that they did, and I'll probably do a video where I actually compare and contrast both of them. So yeah, but I also try to come up with more open topic videos, or just videos that are a little out of left field, or like stuff that no one has talked about before. As a matter of fact, I have an open topic video for October that I think is a really good idea. I have a lot of faith in it, and I haven't written the script for it yet, but I did do my research, so I'm actually very excited to do that video and release it, because I think A, it's going to be very good, B, I think I'm going to have a lot of fun doing it, and I think it's a very creative idea. I haven't seen anybody else on YouTube or really anywhere else. I've seen like a few blog posts on it, but I think this one's going to have a nice spin to the idea. I'm not going to tell you yet. I'll let you know next month. So, alright, I think that's everything I want to say about the channel for now. I'm just going to, for this next section, I'm going to show you a little bit about how I go about making a video. So obviously the first step is just coming up with an idea. And this could be anywhere from just me wanting to review a game that I grew up with or I'm just very passionate about, to the more open topic videos that I do, such as the Dire Wimpy Kid video, or, Dead Space before Dead Space. It all starts with an idea that, like, I have confidence in. So then after I have the idea, I start writing the script. So if it's a video game review, obviously, I'll do the, what I usually do, intro, gameplay, visuals, sound, and then the conclusion. But again, if it's an open topic video, then I'm going to have to figure out the structure and stuff like that. I'm going to have to figure out how to make sections that make sense. I try to make sure that the flow of the script will work with my editing. You know, when I actually get around to putting the commentary with my footage, everything just makes sense. Everything flows well. So once I'm done with the script, I go into Audacity, I set up my mic, and then I just record the script. So nothing really exciting there. By the way, when I'm writing the script, I actually also try to get whatever footage I need to get. So if obviously it's a video game, I record footage for that video game, and I try to get everything that I talk about in the script. But you know, every so often I miss something, and then I just, while I'm editing, I go back into you know, the emulator, or just open up whatever and then just get that piece of footage that I need. So once the commentary is recorded and I have most of the footage I need, or all the footage, again, it all depends, I'll start editing everything. So I just put the audio track into the timeline, and then I'll just put whatever footage needs to be there. That's really about it. Of course, you know, sometimes I show things like images on the screen or text, and usually whenever I do put like an image or a piece of text that like complements or is like in front of the footage, you know, I just let it fade in, and I try for it to not be too big, to not fill the video screen. I just kind of want it to be part of the footage, not like overtake it, I guess, if that makes any sense. Also, I try to keep text on the top of the video, because if someone has subtitles on, obviously that's going to be in like the bottom middle. So I don't want them to try to read the text while the captions are blocking the way. By the way, when I do edit, I don't necessarily do all of the special things, if there is any in the video, all in one like run. So what I'll do is, for the most part, I'll just I'll get most of the video done, and then I'll make a rough draft of it. I'll watch that rough draft, and then I'll just mark down anything that like what needs to be fixed and all that jazz. And then once I have everything written down, I go back into my editing software and, you know, just fix up everything. Then once that's done, or even before that's done, I'll make a thumbnail, and then I'll upload it to YouTube, and then I'll just add the subtitles track, make subtitles, and then yeah, I pretty much just publish it. I also write the description and title it, but yeah, from that point I just published it, and then it's on to the next video to do the exact same thing. Alright, well, that's really all I had to say about my YouTube channel for the moment. I was thinking of maybe making another video like this, like I could maybe show you how I edited with my phone in Power Director, or just some other small cool things about my YouTube channel and like the history of it. As a matter of fact, I actually wanted to make this a scripted video originally, where I was just going to go through some of my videos, not all my videos. Like I would have done the significant ones, like, you know, obviously I was going to talk about the Guitar Hero 1 review, then the Guitar Hero 2 review, you know, you get the idea. But I decided against that. I wanted something that was more organic. I felt that would have been a lot better to do instead of something that was scripted. And not to mention, when I was writing the script for it, I just, at a certain point, I wasn't having fun anymore. I was like, I don't want to do this. So I decided to trim the idea down a little bit. But I'm still open to, again, making another video where I talk a little more in depth about what it took to make these videos. As a matter of fact, I've actually had this idea in my brain for a while, because I always thought it was kind of cool to tell people about how, like, I started with my Galaxy S10 and I was just reading stuff off my phone mic, and then I got that laptop that my brother gave me, and then I just got a gaming PC. But then I also talked with my friends about all the ideas I have and how I want to evolve and all that jazz, so I thought it'd be cool to tell some of my subscribers about it too. Okay, well, that's everything I want to say for now. If you made it this far, thank you very much. I know it was a lot of yapping, but I guess you liked that if you're here. But yeah, once again, just thank you, and have a good day. And also let me know if you want any other videos kind of like this, where I go back and watch some of my older reviews and give commentary about what it took to make it and how I changed, and, you know, just stuff like that.